Welcome to the Following the Joy podcast with me, Debbie Westwell, confidence and mindset coach and massive travel enthusiast. This podcast is a place to talk about being the best version of yourself, following your heart, making scary changes and having fun on this adventure that we call life. I'm your biggest cheerleader and I want you to know that it is never too late to start over and make a life you are excited to get out of bed for. So let's go and get following the joy. On today's episode, I'm interviewing Leyla Ali, who is a personal friend, but just beautiful. I think I say this on every episode, like just a beautiful, kind soul. She's an actor, she's a singer, she's worked in the States, she's from Australia. We talk about following that childhood dream of being on the stage, it taking her around the world. Her love story with her husband is just beautiful. She gives us some really good nuggets on how to deal with kind of the setbacks and, to face challenges and, interviews or auditions with, just going in with a little bit of fun and just seeing what you can learn from it. So I can't wait for you to hear this. And I would love to hear your feedback on this beautiful interview with Leyla, where she's been very open and honest with us. So enjoy. Hey, Leyla, welcome to the Following the Joy podcast. I'm so excited to have you on and catch up with you.
Hi, Debs. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you for reaching out.
Oh, for everybody who's listening, Leyla and I met years and years ago. I can't remember how many years ago, Leyla, on cruise ships. We worked together on cruise ships, and she is just the happiest, nicest, kindest person you've ever come across in your life. But I'm going to get Leyla to introduce herself. So Leyla, please go ahead and just give us like a brief introduction, and then we'll just go into a chat.
My name's Leyla Ali, and no, I'm not Muhammad Ali's daughter. I was born and raised in Melbourne, Australia, and I graduated with a performing arts diploma a long time ago now, and I've been in the performing arts / musical theatre industry for many, many years. I met my now husband on cruise ships also, and I moved to New York in 2017. And I am pursuing a life with the love of my life and musical theatre. So it's been such a journey.
Oh, I love that. I'm pursuing a life with the love of my life. Everybody aspires to. I love that. I want to pursue a life with the love of my life. I can't even say it. Right, okay. Well, let's start at the beginning, because what I love about you is actually you're following your passion and your desires. And I'm sure it's not always been easy, but obviously I'm guessing that from a very young age, you were probably into performing. You were probably performing for the family and then like dancing and all sorts of stuff. So what age did you start getting into it all?
Oh, when I was really young, we used to watch a TV show called Young Talent Time, which actually, if you're familiar with Kylie Minogue, that's where she had her start. And I remember my mum and dad bought me this microphone with the matching speaker set that was the Young Talent Time, set. And I used to sing and do karaoke and, pretend to be a rock star from a really young age. And my mum put me into dancing. And so I continued dancing throughout my childhood and teenhood. And when I was about to graduate high school, I thought I wanted to do, something that was a little bit more, I don't know, guaranteed income. Because Dad really wanted me to be a doctor or a pharmacist. And so I thought I wanted to, pursue that, and realize that that was just not for me. And I was really bad at math and science anyway. I ended up going into performing arts school, and I mean, I knew immediately that this is what I need to do. This is my calling.
Oh, amazing. I mean, I think probably people can relate with the fact that parents always have expectations of you. Like a doctor or a pharmacist. That's very specific, isn't it? But all parents have some form of expectations of you, or family have expectations of you when you try and do something different or break the mold or do what they consider is unstable. They go, like, you sure you really want to do that? So, I mean, fair play for you for following your gut and like just going for it, and you're still here going for it. So, I mean, have you ever had a normal job? Like I say, a normal job. Yours is a normal job. There are normal people doing your job. Sorry, people. Anybody in the acting and dancing and performance career. Sorry. I mean, have you ever had like a 9 to 5 job?
I have, and I was really miserable.
No.
It was right out of graduating, actually. I worked at the school where I graduated from. So I was kind of doing a 9 to 5 reception work there and also teaching dance classes. So it was kind of like a bit of both worlds. And yeah, it wasn't for me. Yeah.
I love that, because you still would have been young then, so you knew straight away when you were younger that it wasn't for you, because there's
Indeed.
definitely people out there. I mean, me in my 40s, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So, I mean, like, fair play that you've like kind of followed it and stuck with it. So you sing and you dance, and you've just come off a tour, haven't you? What were you doing? Christmas Carol
Christmas Carol
recently.
was a 2-month run just in one theater. It was at
Okay.
Princeton, New Jersey. Prior to that, I was on a tour called Tootsie, the comedy musical. And actually, funny enough, I booked that during COVID times.
Wow.
It was my very first video submission
Oh.
in 2020. We were staying at my in-laws' house, and I moved all the furniture out of the living room, and they had hardwood floors, so I was able to do the dance combination and, filmed myself singing in the piano room, and yeah, booked that straight out of 2020. So as soon as the world could come back to some kind of norm and we could, be safely out there performing,
Mm.
we did. And so the first year I did on my own, and then the second year my husband auditioned, and so he came out with me on the second tour. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, so much to unpack there. So first of all, I mean, COVID and lockdown was horrendous for everybody, but especially for everybody in the performance arts world, because obviously
Yes.
theatres are packed. It is your livelihood, and as we've already discussed, it's not your regular job that you get paid month on month on. It's like if you're performing, you're getting paid. If you're not performing, you're not getting paid. So they must have been kind of quite tentative times. But then I guess on the back of that, look, you're doing video auditions. So has the whole audition process changed, or has it reverted back to in-person auditions? It's a bit hybrid now.
It's a bit of a hybrid now, which is great in a lot of ways, but also puts a lot more pressure on the actor in a lot of ways. So, I mean, dance auditions in general have kind of moved more into in person because it's a lot easier to have the space in a studio.
Yeah.
During the video submission times, it was really hard to find a space if you don't have the space in your home, and most New York apartments don't have that kind of space.
No.
So, yeah, it meant that you had to spend the money to rent out a space at a dance studio so then, it's an extra cost, it's an extra, time expenditure. So for me, I think the in-person dance calls make more sense. But what they've done, which I really like, with first round kind of voice singing auditions, is they'll have you film first round so they can see if A, you're what they're looking for type-wise, and B, if they like you enough to kind of bring you in and see you in person. So in that respect, it's kind of nice to have the autonomy to do the video submission in your own time. And you don't need a lot of space. You just need a blank wall and a ring light and a good iPhone or a good phone, Android users. So yeah, It's been a very interesting transition, and I think there are some good things that have come out of it and some things that have put a little bit more responsibility on actors. But I think we're finding a kind of a middle ground that works for both the creative team and the performer. So that's kind of cool.
Nice. Nice. See, I've never been to an audition of anything like that, so I can't even understand what it's like. But I mean, obviously, I've been for job interviews, but you're not always judged on your appearance in job interviews. It's normally what's going on inside the brain or what you can articulate or what skill set you've got. So, I mean, like, has that had an impact on you over the years? Like, how do you learn to take rejection, basically? Like, this is like a good question for anybody out there who is also maybe on the same path as you or wanting to get into something or has a child that wants to get into something. Like, how do you become resilient to rejection, I guess?
It is a challenge. I will say it is a challenge, especially if that is what you're depending on for your livelihood. However, the way that I like to look at auditions as a whole is every single time you have an audition, it's an opportunity to learn. Every time I go into a dance call, I look at it as a free dance class.
Oh, I love
And,
that.
instead of putting a pressure on yourself to book the job, if you go in there with the mindset that, no, this is just an opportunity for me to learn. This is just a way that I can hone my craft. This is a way that I can maybe showcase all the hard work that I've put into what I do instead of, I need this job. And it's a difficult thing to kind of shift if you're in a place where, you've got your heart set on something.
Yeah, or you can't pay your
Um,
bills, or the
yeah,
money needs to start coming in.
right. And I think for me too, I've always had, like, my side job has always been something that I really love. So that kind of takes the pressure off as well. I teach Pilates, so that has always been something that it's a really nice way to keep my body tuned for dance. And it also is an opportunity for me to connect with people and see growth in people. And I personally love it for myself, for my mind, for my body. So that helps to have something that you do outside of the performing world so that it takes the pressure off.
Yes, that's such a good idea to have done Pilates. Awesome. I I do Pilates sometimes. I mean, I'm not a regular. I really should be. And it's one of those, oh, this feels like quite nice and easy. And then the next day I'm like, stomach, can't move. Everything hurts. What's going on? But I
Yep.
love that you do that. The connection thing is huge. It's definitely right. And actually, what you've just said then kind of goes across all jobs, all different job types, all industries, all careers. It's like kind of see everything as an opportunity to learn. And I think I've mentioned this before in podcasts. If it's not working for you, it's teaching you something. So,
Yes.
like you said, taking that pressure off, even if you're going in for a regular job interview, not just a screening interview or you've got to perform or anything like that, an audition. It's that kind of just take the pressure off yourself, go and have some fun. Because actually,
Mm-hmm.
what's for you won't pass you by. And like you
Right.
said, it's good to kind of, I think you've pacified your brain that must do this, must do that. I've got to have all these plans in place by already having the Pilates going on the side. I love a bit of a side hustle. I'm all about hustles. But
And
also just doing
truthfully,
something that you love.
absolutely. And truthfully, if you go into a room and you're having a good time, you're more likely to perform at your best. You're more likely to show your personality a little bit more, and the panel or the creative team are going to enjoy watching you more or enjoy seeing your work more because they're not seeing you stressed out.
Yeah.
And that was a learning curve too, there's a lot of times in the beginning when, I've got to learn this combination and, it definitely is a learned skill as well.
So how many auditions do you think you've been to throughout your life so far?
Oh, countless.
Are there any that stand out that you just go, oh, that was either amazing or that was just terrible, or not really? You like put them all to bed.
You have your really great ones, and there are definitely some where I'm like, I'm not right for this.
Mm.
For example, I'm a pretty good tapper, but I wouldn't say I'm an exceptional tapper. And, I went into this audition where it was some pretty extreme tap. So, it wasn't for me. But I knew that. But, you just do your best. Okay, well, that show's not for me. So that's
Yeah, well, that's it. And I guess that's the how the industry works, isn't it? If you don't look a certain way, if they've got a specific type, they've got to be like under 5'4", they've got to be over 6 foot. If you don't fit that, you don't fit that. That's nothing against you personally, is it? It's just a physicality. You can't change your skin color, you can't change your nose size, you can't change, your eye color if they're looking for something very specific with like close-ups or whatever. I guess you can't change your accent. Well, you probably can with training, but
yes.
and you can change your hair color obviously because you can wear a wig, but there's certain physicalities about you. You can't be flat chested if you've got big boobs, so if they're looking for somebody with a boyish figure, then it's not going to happen, is it? So I guess you just got to not be too sensitive about things, and just like you said, just try and find a little bit of fun in everything and laugh, I guess.
Yeah, you just never know why they choose the person beside you. If I feel like I've given my best in the room or in a video, then I can kind of wash my hands of it and go, okay, I did my
Yeah.
best. I learned from it. It was a wonderful experience. Generally, the panel are really kind. It's really lovely to connect with people. And yeah, you just never know what they're thinking. Sometimes you think you've done a terrible job, and then
You get off in the
oh,
park.
will you come back? Or yeah, that's happened to me as well. I've walked out of an audition going, I don't know what that was, but okay. And then they said we really like you, we want you, and you just never know. Yeah. The way you see yourself and the way that you perceive what you do is so different to what is being received from outside. So, yeah, it's a very interesting, very interesting life.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're completely right. Just go in and you're only competing with yourself, really, aren't you? Just do your absolute best. And like you said, if you've done your best, you can walk out and go, well, it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And if it's not, it's not. That's generally my attitude to life. But I do think some people think I'm a little bit crazy about that. But
I actually have a story about.
oh, go on.
So there was a job that this was back in 2017 or 2018, and I auditioned and didn't hear anything. So I was like, okay, great. I guess that job wasn't for me. And at the time, my agent had a new assistant. And this is a different agent to my current agent. I will not name names.
No naming, no naming and shame.
No naming. And so at the time, I was auditioning every day. And so I was in the kind of buildings where they held the auditions. And so I had just walked out of another audition and I got a phone call. And they said, hi, we were just wondering why you didn't attend your dance call this morning. You had a call back. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? We were just wondering why you didn't. Is everything okay? We were just wanting to check in on you. It's like, I didn't know that I had a dance call. And the email that was sent from this new assistant was sent to not my email address. It was incorrectly typed. So I never received the email. And I said, listen, I'm in the building right now. And they said, okay, great. We're actually about to start our in-person vocal audition. So why don't you, if you can make your way to such and such studio, we'll see you, as soon as you get here. Great. I ran over there and had a great singing audition, and I booked the job.
Oh, wow.
So, when something is meant for you, no matter what obstacles are in the way, if the job is meant for you, it will be yours.
Oh, I absolutely adore that way of thinking. And that segues nicely onto what I'm going to ask you next. For what's meant for you. Talk to me about Josh, your husband. Was it love at first sight?
For him it was. And for me, I was just focused on, I had just boarded this ship and we were focused on getting these shows up and running and open. And, let me put this into context for you. So I boarded the ship on the same day that he boarded the ship. I was contracted for a 6-month contract on that ship. And he was only there for 5 days as a guest artist.
Oh, wow.
And on day 3 we met, and he said that, later when we were actually dating, that he knew immediately that he had to get to know me. And he said, okay, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's have lunch. And in my mind, I was like, I know what ship relationships are like. I've just boarded this ship. We can go as friends, and that's all that's going to happen. We're just going to go as friends, and, it might be a lovely time. And so we did. We had lunch, and lunch ended up turning into like an all-day kind of just getting to know each other. And that night, he came and saw our dress run of the show that we're about to open. And straight after that, I went to bed. And apparently he was roaming the halls looking for me.
So stalking, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And ran into a couple of my cast members, and they said, here's her room number, give her a call. I'm sure she'd appreciate that. So he called me and said, I'm quite taken by you. If there are any more jobs on this ship, I'm going to ask my company to put me on them. And he never used to do stuff like that. So I was like, okay, wonderful to meet you too. And I didn't think twice about it. I just thought, well, that was a really lovely guy, and that's really nice that they still exist, but didn't think twice about it. And then he found me on Facebook, and we ended up talking every day on Messenger for 4 months before he came back onto the ship, right before I ended that contract. So it was 4 months later, and he boarded the ship. And on day 3 of him coming back, we looked at each other and went, oh, this is the real deal, huh? How are we going to make this work? Because you're American and I'm Australian. We live on opposite sides of the planet. And I had already planned to spend 2 months in New York straight out of that contract, because we disembarked in the United States. So at the time, our company was like, if you want to defer your flight, we can do that. So I had already planned to do that. And he said, listen, I've already spoken to my roommates. You're going to come and stay with me. And I did. I stayed with him for 2 months. And by the end of that 2 months, he said, I have to follow you back to Australia because I have to ask your dad for your hand.
Oh my goodness.
And he did.
All right, okay. So I just need to clarify some things for the people who are listening, because this is kind of what makes it even more unique. So what Leyla was referring to there about shipboard relationships is many a time people come on and for like brief seconds in time, and you have like a flirtation that sometimes ends up being a naked flirtation. And, like you go, would you like to come to lunch with me, with the inverted commas? Or like the best one is, would you like to watch a film in my cabin? It's essentially the same as Netflix and chill. What you people on land do is Netflix and chill. So every relationship on ships is quite fleeting. It's very, very difficult to find somebody. And also, the that you were able to message every single day, because if anybody who's been on a cruise knows that the internet on board cruise ships is very spotty, very slow, and ridiculously expensive. So
Yes.
that just goes to show that, oh, that's such a beautiful love story. And like after such a short amount of time as well. So were you married in Australia or America? Is it legal in both countries if you're married in the other one?
Well, we worked on a K1 visa, which is a fiance visa, while the two of us did a ship contract together. So we could be together in international waters while we worked on my fiance visa for me to move to the United States, because we thought New York would be the first kind of place we try to build a life. And so once my fiance visa came through, we thought we want to shorten the amount of time between us getting married and me having to kind of wait it out. Because once I arrive in the States and get married, you basically have 90 days to get married. But within that time, you can't work, you can't leave until your work permit comes through or until your green card comes through. So we wanted to kind of shorten that amount of time so that I could have the flexibility to work and leave if I needed to. So as soon as we got that K1 visa, we flew to Hawaii, and it was just the two of us on a beach in Oahu. And we had this hippie, gorgeous man marry us on the beach. And yeah, straight after we got married, we went and had a Mai Tai on the beach and then climbed Coco Head, which is, one of the steepest mountains out there. And it was a magical time. But yeah, I ended up with my green card and moved to the United States, and I've been here in New York since 2018.
Oh, I love that story. It's so beautiful. It's like awesome. Also, I love the fact that you went to Hawaii and got married on a beach. I mean, that's just the dream. But like anybody who's listening, listen, love can hit you at any time. It can happen fast. And if you live on different continents, it doesn't matter. Like if you are now in a relationship that you're thinking, oh, I'm an hour and a half up the road drive from them, and I'm thinking I'm in a distance relationship. No, that is not a long distance relationship, people. Different continents is definitely a long distance relationship. Oh my goodness. So your husband also sings and dances, does he? And so you've performed together?
More of a singer. Yes.
He's more of a singer.
Yes.
So have you performed together on stage?
We have many times.
Okay. Have you performed opposite him in a partnership on stage?
We've done like cabarets together, and also on one of the ships we did together, we had a jazz set with the band that, the two of us would do some duets together, and that was a lot of fun. We have done we've done some little snippets of playing opposite each other, but it wasn't like a musical. It was more like a review show. But yeah, it's always fun sharing the stage with him.
Right. Okay. So here's my next question. Have you had to watch him flirt with somebody else on stage, and how does that go down?
Actually, yes. I will not flirt with them, but basically he's more of a leading man type. So he's done musicals like The Music Man and Bridges of Madison County. And so, there are moments in those shows where they have a romantic connection. And it's just really inspiring for me to see him grow into himself and be this incredible actor. It's really inspiring to me.
At no point are you like, get off my man.
Well, you kind of know as an actor, we're both really lucky because we both understand what the job entails.
Yeah.
So the jealousy thing doesn't happen on stage. No. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's good. Yeah, I like that. It's good that you understand each other, because I think I'd be like, hands off my man. What's going on, please? Hands off. Hands above the waist only. Thank you.
It comes with the territory, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No,
mind you, he probably has to see like guys lifting you and touching your bum to get you up into a hold and stuff if you're dancing.
Oh,
So,
indeed. Indeed. Yeah.
and there is less than sexy backstage, is there? I mean, I've been backstage when like actors are moving around and like having to get redressed, and I've helped to be a dresser and stuff. It's just basically sweat flying everywhere and
Yeah.
costume changes, and the costumes are wet and sweaty. So yeah, I guess it's not a sexy place to
Not at
to be
all.
jealous about anyway. Okay, right. So if there is anybody out there listening that like wants to get into acting or singing, has got children that want to get into acting or singing, like, is there any pieces of advice that you would give to them?
I would say continue training. Find people that you aspire to, I guess, follow in their footsteps
Mhm.
and figure out what they did in their career to get where they are. And
Yeah.
then try to, if you can, find the training that suits you and try to work those things into your life. Yeah. And I think it's really important to always know that if something's not working for you, you can change your mind. If something is feeling
Yeah.
really great, follow that. Um, and also, training is is really important. And there's a lot of great schools out there, and there are a lot of schools that may not be good for you. So make sure that it's the right fit for you, whether that's a dance teacher or an acting coach or a vocal teacher, whatever it is, make sure that they are the right fit for you so that you're getting everything that you want and need out of it.
Oh, yeah, that's such a fab piece of advice. And actually, again, it transcends, like the first part of it transcends across all like career paths, because, you know, if you find somebody who's doing what you want to do and like figure out how they did it, whether it is in a performance, whether it is in finance, or whether it is in, you know, whatever, like recruitment, like ask that person or figure out what's gone right for them, and trust in
Mhm.
your gut. Yes. And just like if
Yeah.
it's not working for you, you can change it. You can change it anytime. I love that. That's awesome. I like these gold nuggets, Lael. So, right, you can say no to this question if you like. Have you got a favorite musical or performance that you have been in, or are you not allowed to say?
I have many. Am I allowed to say more than one?
Yeah, of course you are. Of course you are. Just tell me the reasons why.
Sure. Um, okay, so one of the earlier productions I was a part of, I was working at Universal Studios Japan in my 20s, and there was basically a shortened version of the show Wicked. It was like a 40-minute version of it where it was more focused on the relationship between the two women. There was no Fiero. And I just remember the moment you walk out on stage, we started with One Short Day. And, you know, we wore those beautiful costumes and everything was just immaculate and beautiful. And the music's incredible. And I just remember every time I walked out on stage and the scrim lifted and you just get to sing that beautiful music, it was just one of the most incredible experiences. It just, yeah, that's one. Um, the other, I got to be a part of Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella,
Oh,
and you just get to feel like a fairy princess. I got to wear these beautiful ball gowns, uh, you know, and get lifted above the male dancers' heads, and just, and it's a beautiful story. The story is about kindness, you know, and the importance of showing kindness to your fellow people. And yeah, and the cast was beautiful. The experience was beautiful. Um, yeah, the two of, oh, and one of my other favorites was doing the second year of Tootsie with my hubby. I think that was, yeah, that was really special. We had a special cast as well. We all bonded like a big family on the road. So That was
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
I guess that's pretty important, isn't it? Because obviously, if you're on the road or even if you're spending hours and hours in rehearsals with people, you've got to get on with them. And like any job, if you're having a bit of a naff day, it's the people who get you through it, isn't it, really? So,
Indeed.
yeah. Oh, you've been lucky then. And also, you've had a career path that's taken you, like, you worked in Japan. Also, anybody who's listening, you should hear Leyla speak Japanese. She is so cute at speaking Japanese. But yeah, you've gone everywhere. You know, I mean, you've traveled the world on cruise ships anyway, but we've done like world cruise on together on a cruise ship, haven't we? But
Yeah.
you worked in Japan, you're now living in New York, you're basically being a princess in some of the things that you've got to do, which every little girl wants to do at some point. Every little girl wants to wear those dresses and be picked up. Well, I do. My little inner princess, little small inner child. I feel like what some of the people miss out on in their life is that kind of excitement that you have as a child. As you grow up and you get into a 9 to 5 job, or you know, something that's very serious career, and you've got to have a specific like front, you know, you've got to wear a suit and you've got to, you don't have to, but you know, you're expected to. And then like people forget what they did as a child, but it feels like to me like you loved doing this as a child and now you're doing this as an adult, but then also you're getting to fulfill other childhood fantasies like being a princess and stuff, and you know, wearing those nice dresses, and it sounds ace. I love it. Do you ever get stage fright?
I wouldn't say stage fright, but I definitely have moments of nervousness. You know, I'm also an understudy in a lot of the shows that I do. And so the first time you go on for your understudy, there's a lot of nerves because you have rehearsed it, but you haven't done it for an audience yet, you know? So those moments, and opening night is always that same kind of jittery nervousness, but I think it's a healthy kind of nervousness because it just means you really care. You
Yeah.
know, if there's that kind of nerve that allows you to still perform at your best, then it just means that you care about what you're doing, what you're putting out there.
Oh, yeah. Do you have anything that you do to kind of calm your nerves down, or can you control them? Okay.
I think breathing is a big one, and if I'm feeling extremely kind of heart out of my chest, I I like to take, 10 minutes to meditate. I also have
Yes.
these little pastilles. They're these little stress relieving pastilles that have a little bit of St. John's wort.
Something that you eat, like a little sweet that you eat that's got St. John's wort in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, those little things
Mm.
always kind of just feels like just a little thing that know that you're okay. You're good.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And okay, so right, I'm going to wrap it up soon, but I've got to ask you this question. So, what is, just putting it out there for the world, just in case anyone's listening, what is that dream role that you want on stage? I mean, obviously, there's a lot of them, but
There are a lot
what's
of
that one that
them.
you've always wanted since you were a little girl?
There are a few. I've always loved the show Chicago,
Mm,
and to, someday be able to play Velma Kelly would be, I mean, that would be pretty ace.
you would be
Um,
amazing.
maybe someday. The other is, the Disney lover inside me has always dreamt of Aladdin,
Yes.
Aladdin in some way, shape, or form. But, you know,
And I
the
hope you get
world
to
has
ride on your magic carpet one day.
the world always has a different plan to, what we think that we want to do. And sometimes what the world has in mind for us is better than what we can imagine. So you just kind of have to
Absolutely.
let it unfold.
Yes, that's very philosophical. I love it because if it doesn't seem right at the time, it might, because it's leading you to something even more perfect and fabulous. And we just can't imagine it. It's outside of our imagination. Oh, but Leyla, in general, you love what you do, don't you?
So much.
Oh,
I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else.
I love it. It's like you've got this glow of like happiness that you know that you're in the right place, and it just lights you up from within. And I think what makes you just like a gorgeous person, because you don't need to compete with other people or argue with other people. It's just like everybody who meets you is just like, oh, she's ace, isn't she? Like everybody used to
Oh,
say that. I
that's
thought
so
it.
kind.
Alrighty, so I'm going to try and wrap up with some takeaways for anybody listening to this. Thank you very much for sharing all of your story and everything, but we've had some really, really good gold nuggets in there as well. So here we go. Are we ready? So you said always follow your gut. You've said that a couple of times. Like if it's not right for you, you can change your mind. We always like a side hustle. Not everybody has to have a side hustle, but I like a side hustle. That's just my thing. One of the big ones was you should go into things for fun. So don't go into things like, I need this, I want this, I'm desperate for it. Just be like, how can I learn from this? This can be fun, have fun with things. And also do your best. It's only you that you're competing with, basically. And if you want to aspire to someone, look at the person that you're aspiring to and try and follow in their footsteps, and then follow what feels good. How does that sound? Did I summarize that all right?
Brilliant.
Awesome. Leyla, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. More than welcome back whenever you want. And I'm sure we'll be having a long catch up after this anyway, but thank you ever so much. And
Thank you.
fingers crossed for that carpet ride in the future. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. And as always, any links or anything mentioned will be in the show notes. If you haven't connected with me already, I'd love to meet you. So come find me on Instagram at Debbie Westwell. You can always slide into my DMs and let me know what you thought about this episode. Or why not join my Facebook community, the Alchemy of Self-Care free community. You can also find out how to work with me at debbiewestwell.com. If you like what you hear, then please follow me or hit the bell icon. Share with somebody like you who would benefit from listening. And if you have time, then leave me a positive review, and that would be fabulous. Thank you for being your wonderful self, and I can't wait to chat next time.